Broken heart, total heartbreak. Gauff's disastrous semifinal loss to Anisimova, 1-6, 2-6, in Beijing. The stadium lights in Beijing glimmered like cold stars. The air was heavy, not just with the dense humidity of an autumn evening, but with the weight of expectation. Coco Gauff stood near the baseline, head tilted slightly, eyes fixed on the ball in her hand. The sound of her breath cut through the murmurs of the crowd. Across the net, Amanda Anisimova waited, still, calm, and devastatingly focused. No one could have predicted that what began as another chapter in Gauff's fairy tale season would end in one of the most painful nights of her young career. The calm before the storm. It was supposed to be her night. Coco had arrived in Beijing with a glow of confidence. The year had been hers, a collection of victories that told the story of a young champion blooming into her prime. She had conquered the summer, the hard courts of America, the roaring stadiums filled with chants of, "Let's go, Coco!" She had fought, dazzled, and risen. The city of Beijing, with its sprawling skyline and quiet mist, had seemed ready to embrace her next triumph. She had spoken to the press just a day earlier, smiling brightly. "I'm learning to love the pressure," she had said. "It means people believe in me." But belief can be both a gift and a burden. Amanda Anisimova walked into the semifinal like a shadow, calm, collected, and quietly hungry. She had spent months rebuilding herself from the inside out. Injuries, doubts, long nights of silence. She had endured them all. And now, in Beijing, she had begun to play the kind of tennis that once made her one of America's brightest young stars. 2 young women, 2 paths, 1 storm waiting to break. The opening blow. The first game told the story. Gauff served first, a quick toss, a slicing motion, and the ball landed deep, but Anisimova returned with venom. The rally stretched only 6 shots before Gauff's backhand sailed long. It was a small mistake, but the echo of it lingered. Soon it was 0-40, then 0-1, and from that moment, something inside Coco began to fray. The rhythm she carried all week suddenly felt distant. Her feet were half a step slower, her mind a half-second late. Every swing seemed to meet the air a moment too soon or too late. Across the court, Anisimova was fire and precision, striking lines with quiet fury, moving with the grace of inevitability. 1-6. It happened fast. Too fast. The scoreboard glared in neon cruelty. Gauff won, Anisimova 6. The crowd, expecting a battle, sat in uneasy silence. Coco wiped sweat from her brow, eyes flickering with disbelief. She had been outplayed, outthought, outmaneuvered, but there was still hope. There had to be. Between sets. In the brief break between sets, Gauff sat wrapped in her towel, shoulders heaving slightly. The camera caught her face, a storm of emotion, trying desperately to find calm. Her coach's words floated faintly across the court. "Reset, Coco. Breathe. Start over." But sometimes the hardest part isn't losing. It's realizing you might be losing to yourself. Inside, she felt the tug of every doubt she'd buried. Every article that said she was the next Serena. Every cheer that carried expectation instead of belief. Every loss that whispered she still wasn't enough. She looked down at her racket, the grip worn smooth from battles past. It had been her sword, her lifeline, her identity. But tonight, it felt heavier than ever. Across the court, Anisimova was still. Her expression was unreadable, a portrait of quiet determination. She wasn't celebrating, not yet. She knew Coco's fight was legendary, and legends rarely fall twice without a war. The second set, breaking point. The second set began with a fragile rhythm. Gauff tried to find her spark. The whipping forehand, the fierce baseline rallies, the electrifying movement that usually sent her opponent scattering. For a few brief points, it seemed to return. A blistering forehand winner drew cheers from the stands. A tight fist pump, a flash of that old fire. But Anisimova was unshaken. Every time Coco reached for momentum, Amanda took it away. With surgical backhands and devastating returns, she dismantled Gauff rhythm point by point. It wasn't just tennis. It was psychological warfare. By 2-4, the writing was on the wall. The cameras caught Coco muttering to herself between points, Fragment of frustration, disbelief, and pain. She looked toward her box, searching for answers that weren't there. Her coach gestured. Her mother sat motionless. Her father leaned forward, helpless witnesses to a daughter unraveling under the lights. The crowd wanted to lift her, to give her energy. But sometimes, even thousands of voices can't drown out the sound of your own doubts. Then came the final game. Anisimova stepped to the line, leading 5-2. She took a deep breath, tossed the ball high, and unleashed a serve that cut to the Beijing air like lightning. Gauff reached. Too late. Ace. 15-0. Another rally. Gauff's forehand into the net. 30-0. A long exchange, tension like glass. Gauff pushed deep, but Anisimova countered with a backhand down the line. 40-0. Match point. The silence was unbearable. Anisimova served wide. Gauff returned weakly. A final backhand. The ball landed deep. Gauff stretched and missed. Game. Set. Match. 1-6. 2-6. It was over. The silence after the storm. For a moment, time stopped. Gauff stood frozen, eyes fixed on the court as though it might offer her an explanation. The cheers were polite but distant, a kind of applause reserved for respect, not triumph. Anisimova walked to the net first, extending her hand. Gauff met it with quiet grace. There were no tears yet, just a hollow ache of disbelief. She had dreamed of lifting another trophy. Instead, she was left standing under the cold Beijing lights, the taste of defeat fresh and bitter. The photographers clicked furiously, capturing her heartbreak in real time. Her eyes, usually bright with confidence, now looked distant, searching for something she couldn't name. In her post-match press conference, she tried to smile, tried to find words. She played really well, Gauff said softly. I just didn't have it today. It hurts, but I'll learn from it. But the tremor in her voice betrayed the truth. This one would linger. Inside the mind of a champion, loss is a strange teacher. It doesn't whisper, it roars. It doesn't comfort, it exposes. And in the aftermath, it leaves an emptiness only self-belief can fill again. For Coco, this wasn't just a loss. It was a reckoning. All season long, she had worn the armor of a rising superstar, confident, composed, mature beyond her years. But beneath it all was still the 21-year-old girl who wanted to prove to the world that she belonged. She thought of all the hours she'd spent grinding on practice courts, the endless travel, the expectations she carried like invisible weights. She thought of Serena and Venus, of how they turned heartbreak into history. Could she do the same? That night, back in her hotel room. Because heartbreak, in sport, is not the end. It's the beginning of something deeper, the kind of fire that forges legends. And somewhere deep down, under all the pain and tears, Coco Gauff already knew it. She would return, stronger, sharper, wiser. And when she did, the world would remember this night, not as the story of her fall, but as the night that began her greatest rise. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.